Okay, let's put it back together. In doing so, we'll want to make sure that we clean out the tubes and put fresh grease on all of the moving parts to protect it. Oh, come on. There we go. So, we're going to start with this lever here. Now, let's take a quick look here. Right here, I don't know if you can see this. Right there is a little knob that captures the spring. When we put this on, we want to capture the spring on that little knob. I will do that thusly. All we have to do is, well, first of all, let's do this. Let's go ahead and clear out the holes down here that are threaded and the holes down here that are threaded. Okay. And we back up our screws just a little bit for this. It'll be this one here. Bring it just where, there we go. And this one here. And now, before we put it back together, let's grab a toothpick. And we'll take a little bit of grease, just a tiny bit. And we'll put it inside of the screw holes here and here. That'll keep the points nicely greased. And we'll put just a touch bit on the threads of the screws. Doesn't need much, but that way it'll help protect those screws from inclement weather. This is a student instrument, and they usually oftentimes will be used for playing in marching band outside in the snow, the rain, and all that stuff. And if they're not properly maintained and oiled, what will happen is that the screws will freeze up. The moisture will get in there. Now what we want to do is right here we have our spring, and we want to capture that spring with that little spring knob rather than trying to have to put it in later. So we're going to put this thing here like this and just set it in place. And what we'll do is we'll take this around. Okay, and there's the spring right there. Right, now we want to bring that in and capture it on the edge of that knob. And once we've done that, hold it in place, and let's go ahead and tighten this back screw a little bit. Make sure we've got it in alignment. And if I tighten it from this direction, although normally I would be holding it slightly differently, this way the screw will go down straight and it won't fall out. Now this will help hold it in place, having put that one in. And now this has to back up just a little bit. Get that in there. And again, hold it in place. Make sure of our alignment. And in it goes. Tighten it up. Tighten this one up. Okay. You can make these things a little bit too tight and they won't move as well as you might want them to. So what we can do is we can back that off just a touch. Just like that. Boom. Good. next to put on are these two goodies. These two side levers here. Remember, these side levers overlap each other. So if you look here, you can see how that works. There is a little arch right here, and the tube fits right inside that arch. At the same time, just like this, at the same time, the top of that key goes over the other tube. Usually it's a good idea to put these in together. So we'll pull these out, and we'll take this little brush right there. Let's see, there it is. And this is for a little wire brush, and it's great for cleaning out the tubes. And we'll just kind of clean out the tubes a little bit, decrud them slightly. And we can also get into here. And all the way into the threaded area. We'll clean that out. And we'll brush this out. And we'll brush this out. And get into that thread. And just give that a little bit of a twist and help clean that out a little bit. Okie dokie. We'll take our toothpick, which is over here. I'll put a little glue right here on the thread, and a little glue right here, or a little, not glue, grease, put a little grease there, and I'm going to put, I don't really need to do it here, because my next step then is to do this. I'm going to go ahead, because these are rods, they're a little bit different. And I'll just put a little glue, a little grease, glue. I was gluing piano earlier this morning. Put a little grease there. Squeeze out a little grease. Put it onto this rod. We're ready to go. This is the inside lever. We can go ahead and set that, or begin to. Actually, this is the outside lever, and that would go under there. Okay, we have the two levers almost in place. Set those kind of in place, and there we go. That one's in. Line this one up. That one's in. And tighten them into place. Good. Next, as you recall, we had to take the rings off so we could get to these screws down here, particularly this one. This one also is nice to have the rings off. So the next key we're going to put in then is this key here that goes down below there. That would be this key here. And once again, we'll clear out the threads a little bit. And we'll clear it out here. And we'll take our toothpick and we'll get a little grease. Put a little grease onto this thing. Put a little bit right in here. Put a little bit right in here. Just a touch bit more. And put that onto our threads here. And put it onto our threads here. Okay. back this out all the way. Or it's going to be a little difficult to get it on. Same thing here. Now, this key has an arch on it right here. What it does, it's going to arch over the outer lever, arch over the inner lever, and land, arch over this lever here, so that it can land onto this lever here. Okay? So we want to do that. See how that's going to arch over? And that lands on the lever. All right. And now, this one's a little difficult to capture. Capture the spring and put it into place. Back out that screw just a little bit farther. Because the very tip of it is in the way. And while I'm doing this, I have the spring right there captured. Which is why this is a little bit more of an argument than it otherwise might be. There we go. Now all I have to do is get that to line up just enough to hold it where I want it. Good. Start to bring that in a little bit. We'll tighten up in a moment. We're still holding on to that spring. Okay. Now we're going to slip it in here. And again, the tip of the screw is just a little bit in the way. It's keeping it from clearing. There we go. And my thumb is still holding this in place against the pressure of the spring. Put that in. Come back over here. Tighten this one up. Good. That's working, and that's working. Next. Next key we're going to put on is the one that goes right on top of that. Again, because it's easier to get to that top screw. And again, with this key, we have an arch. And this is going to arch over, and it will land on the key, on the back, on the inside lever key. And again, we need to pull this back a little bit so it'll go in. And before we try to put it in, a little grease. Doesn't take a lot of grease, just a little. Here and here. A little bit on the threads here, a little bit on the threads here. Okay. Slip this in, or begin to slip it in. Better if I can do it the right direction. And again, what we want to do is come down here. Here's our spring. There's our knob. So let's go ahead and capture that. And we'll have to work against the spring again as we try to put it in. But we're going to have to hold that spring into place. Now, as soon as we can get this side in and down and set, okay, still holding it against that spring, I'll bring up the screw just a little bit more. And we've got it lined in. And we'll put it down just enough to help us hold it in place while we put in the next one. Thumb up against the pressure of the spring. Spring is still in place. And it's just a matter of getting the alignment. There you go. And it's in. That's in. Tighten this one up here at the back. Done. It wobbles nicely. This one's working. This one's working. This one's working. Good. Not too tight. Next, I'm going to put this one on. And to put this on, we're going to put a little grease onto the rod this time. There we go. And let's clear out the tube. Make sure it's nice and clean and polished on the inside. There we go. Set that there for the moment. And we're going to go ahead and capture that spring. This is a pretty strong spring. And try to line it up enough it's getting the alignment right so that we can get the rod in. There we go. Got the rod started. Check the alignment down at the bottom. Rod goes in. Tighten it up. Next thing that goes on is the ring key. And again, a little grease right in here. And a little grease right in here. Back off the screw. So it'll slip in. Back off the screw here. Key goes on like this. There's our capture right there, our capture knob. There's our spring. We'll just slip this on. Thusly. Capture that spring. Get it into place. Hold it against the spring. Get the alignment. Tighten it in. Turn it. Don't let go, because if you do, it's going to pop off. And get to this one here. And now it's just a matter of getting the right alignment so that it goes straight into the hole. There we go. Just like that. Good. The last two keys, the top two right here, are going to present their own challenge. Up until now, whenever we put a key on, we have captured the spring while putting the key on. In this case, that won't be possible. The spring for each one of these is right here. There's one, and there's the other. If we place the key on here, the key would go on like this. Turn it around. Find that spring is supposed to attach right here. There's no way to get that behind the spring to attach it. Okay? Believe that where it was. The same is true with this one. For this key here, the spring is supposed to attach right there. But again, there's no way to get that in there to do that. So go ahead and leave that there also. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to use our spring hook or our crochet needle. Some way of placing the key in place first. And then, well, it's a little hard to see in here. There's the spring way back there. It's behind where it needs to be. So we'll have to reach in underneath there, hook it, pull it around under this, and then up, and then drop it into place. Let's go ahead and finish installing those keys. Rod goes in. I'll have to wobble these just a little bit to get the proper alignment. And it goes. It's the first one. Still have to get it to align a little bit. And then goes that one. And it goes all the way through. Had our alignment nice. And we'll go ahead and tighten that down. Now, for this key, I'm going to be using the hook on our paper clip. What we did was we bent paper clip. And I'm going to use the hook on that. This is a fairly heavy spring, so this should work. I'm going to go inside, reach around, and grab hold of it like that. And then push it down, roll it around, bring it up, and we are hooked. I'm just going to get my hook out. Bingo. And there it is there. This one is going to be a little bit more of a challenge. The hook is right here. The spring is behind it. We don't have a lot of space to work with. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and use the screwdriver to pull it down, around, and up. And slip it in. And there we go. Now, normally when I'm putting together a clarinet, I would be checking each key for leaks as I put it on. But in this case, I wanted to go ahead and do the whole thing because I wanted to show you how you can check for leaks on your clarinet when the whole thing is already together. Do a little blow test. Basically, we'll close our keys, and if I just rock my thumb over right here, I can get that one. All the keys are closed. We would just simply put a stopper or your hand and blow into it. Now I'm finding that as I blow into this, there is a leak. Using the stopper, I can now have this hand free to find it. And I can feel the air coming out, and it's this key right here. Well, why is that key leaking? If I push down here, this lever operates both keys, as does this. If I push down there, I have the leak. But this lever operates this key by itself. What if we were to do that? Just push down just that, and then I'm going to use my finger over here and just push this down this way. And I'm finding I don't have a leak. Maybe I do. Alright, a couple things going on. If I lift my little finger, if I lift my finger off of here, if I push it down, I find I have no leak. But here's an odd thing. If I push this key down from here, notice how the lever, which operates both of them, goes down. And I have a leak. And if I push here, I'll hold this really close, watch the crow's foot right here. If I push that down, I have no leak, but I have a space between the lever and the crow's foot. That's what's causing the leak. What's happening is that essentially this key is landing before this one does. And you can kind of feel that and see it anyway. If I push this key down, they both go down. And there's our wobble right in there. There's our leak. So when we go to regulate the instrument, which we'll do later, we'll want to make the adjustment on these keys here such that both of these land at the same time. Even better is if this one lands just a tad bit before this one. Okay. And that'll be a fairly easy adjustment to do. But that's where our leak is coming from. Another way to check for leaks, by the way, is in the blow test. Is the paper test. This is cigarette paper, nice and thin. It's ideal for what we want to do. By closing the key, we put our piece of paper inside the key, and then we close it. And we give a pull. It should be snug and pull. When we try to pull, we should feel a certain amount of resistance. If I go here, see, it's not coming out. That means that it's seated nice and tight. This key here, though, has a small problem. If I set it over here and I pull, that's nice and tight. So we may be okay. Well, wait a minute. That is a little loose. Not a lot, but a little. Whether or not it's enough for the air to leak out is something else entirely, but it is a little loose. And if we look very carefully, right here, it would seem that our pad is slightly tilted inside the cup. We have more pads sticking out here beyond the rim of the cup than we have here. We may want to adjust that as well. That's a fairly simple adjustment as well, a neat little trick, so I'll show you that one later also. Next, we'll go ahead and take apart the upper joint of the clarinet.